The Thompson family's evening routine was as predictable as the sunset. Mom would be checking work emails in the home office, Dad scrolling through his phone on the couch, teenage Emma lost in social media in her room, and 12-year-old Max playing video games in the basement. They were together, but apart, each wrapped in their own digital bubble of comfort. That changed on one particularly bitter January evening when their heating system decided to quit with an ominous clunk. The temperature outside had already dipped to 15 degrees, and inside, their breath was starting to show in little white puffs. "The repair service can't come until tomorrow morning," Mom announced, hanging up her phone with a worried frown. "They're swamped with emergency calls tonight." Emma appeared in the doorway, wrapped in her comforter. "I can't feel my fingers. How am I supposed to text like this?" she complained, holding up her phone dramatically. "Well, we can't stay in separate rooms tonight," Dad said, finally looking up from his device. "We'll freeze." He paused, then added thoughtfully, "You know, this reminds me of when I was a kid during the big storm of '89. We all camped out in the living room." Max emerged from the basement, his gaming headset still around his neck. "Camping? Inside?" His eyes lit up with curiosity. What started as an inconvenience slowly transformed into something unexpected. They gathered every blanket in the house, creating a makeshift fort in the living room. Mom found some old emergency candles, their warm light casting dancing shadows on the walls. Dad discovered his old guitar in the closet, dusty but still in tune. "Remember this one?" he asked Mom, strumming the opening chords to their wedding song. She smiled, really smiled, for the first time in what felt like weeks. Emma, who had been initially mortified at the thought of a family slumber party, found herself teaching Max how to make shadow puppets on the wall. Their laughter filled the room as their hands created everything from barking dogs to soaring eagles. "Hey, why don't we tell stories like we used to?" Max suggested, his eyes bright with excitement. "Remember when we'd make up those crazy adventures?" As the night grew colder outside, something warm began to grow within their makeshift camp. Mom shared stories about her childhood in Minnesota, tales she'd never had time to tell before. Dad taught Emma and Max the silly camp songs from his summer counselor days. Even Emma put down her phone, caught up in the moment as she taught everyone a clapping game she'd learned at school. "You know what's weird?" Emma said, wrapped in layers of blankets. "I haven't even thought about my Instagram followers for hours." Mom looked around at her family, their faces glowing in the candlelight. "Sometimes it takes losing something to find something better," she mused. "We've been so busy staying comfortable, we forgot how to be close." "I'm still cold," Max admitted, "but somehow it doesn't feel as bad when we're all together like this." They fell asleep that night in their blanket fort, huddled together like a family of bears in winter. When morning came and the repair person fixed their heater, something had shifted. The warmth that returned to their home wasn't just from the vents. That evening, when everyone started to drift back to their usual spots, Emma spoke up. "Do you think maybe we could leave the fort up for one more night?" "But the heat's working now," Max pointed out. "I know," Emma replied, looking slightly embarrassed. "It's just, last night was kind of nice." They looked at each other, understanding dawning in their eyes. Sometimes it takes the cold to show us where true warmth comes from. That night they chose to camp out again, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. And this time, their phones stayed silent in their pockets, forgotten in favor of something far more precious: the warmth of being together.